President of Poland, Andrzej Duda, President of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, President of Romania, Nicu Șordan, Prime Minister of Denmark, Mette Frederiksen, and NATO Secretary General, Mark Rutte. Let me note that at first, the leaders will deliver their statements, and afterwards, you will have the opportunity to ask a question. I will now invite the President of Lithuania to begin. Mr. President, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon. The Vilnius summit of the Bucharest Nine and Nordic countries has concluded. This year we are celebrating the 10th anniversary of the Bucharest Nine. Over time, it has brought region's countries closer together. And I am sincerely grateful to Poland and Romania for this initiative. Today's meeting, with the participation of our Nordic allies and Ukraine, highlights the growing pressure on NATO's eastern and northeast flanks and our collective efforts to address them. Given the full complexity of the present situation, I am particularly glad to welcome here in Vilnius the NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte and the President of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky. In the face of the Russian threat, we must unify our efforts across the High North, the Baltic Sea and the Black Sea. Also today, during the first session, we discussed extensively the preparation for the upcoming NATO summit. Our meeting in The Hague will present a great opportunity to continue building a stronger and better prepared alliance along the lines set in Madrid, Vilnius and Washington. At the Hague Summit, we expect a message of transatlantic unity, reaffirmed commitment to collective defense, and readiness to defend the allied territory. We also believe that allies will be ready to substantially increase defense investment. As we are moving towards reaching at least 5% of GDP on defense and defense-related investments, we expect the whole alliance to follow suit. Lithuania will be spending 4% of GDP on defense this year and more than 5% from the next year to 2030. Additional funds will be needed for a national heavy division, as well as for the German brigade's infrastructure and for the host nation support to allied troops stationed in Lithuania. The Hague Summit must also send a clear message that NATO stands with Ukraine. We must show that NATO stands with Ukraine through continuous support to its armed forces and Ukraine's Euro-Atlantic aspirations. In the coming months, one crucial objective will be to substantially increase military support to Ukraine, to ensure deterrence on the ground and to prepare conditions for the future negotiations on peace. Ukraine's power must be significantly strengthened, and it now falls primarily on Europeans and Ukraine's closest neighbors and friends to make it happen. Ukraine also needs our investments in its defense industry. We must shift from reactive aid to solid military support, pre-planned deliveries of long-range artillery, advanced air defense systems, and drone capabilities. We'll still need progress on enhanced EU military support to Ukraine, with the whole goal to supply them with 2 million large-caliber shells. In times like these, unity is most important. Together, we are strong, and I am happy that we had very productive, frank conversation with our closest friends, and I hope it will be very helpful looking forward to the Hague Summit. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. I will now invite the President of Poland.
The upcoming NATO summit in The Hague will take place in only 3 weeks. So this is an excellent moment to discuss our expectations ahead of this very important gathering. Ladies and gentlemen, we all know too well that we are facing critical threats and challenges from Russia. In response, we have to make NATO stronger, but also fairer. Having in mind Russian full-scale invasion of Ukraine and its aggressive attitudes towards the West, we must do everything to develop appropriate instruments that will deter the Kremlin's neo-imperial ambitions especially here on the eastern flank. That is why our talks focused primarily on the urgent need to increase defense spending and on developing the production capabilities of national defense industries. I would like to recall, even before last year's NATO summit in Washington, I proposed to raise the defense spending by NATO members to the minimum level of 3% of their GDP. 3 months ago, I submitted to Secretary General Mark Rutte a request to raise this issue in The Hague. And today, I'm glad to see that we all agree on that and that our ambitions are even higher, up to 5% of GDP on defense. We hope that the allies will follow into our footsteps. Another key element of our discussions was strengthening the transatlantic relations and the strategic alliance with the USA. Among our partners in the region, there is a widespread understanding that Europe must take greater responsibility for its own security. But it is critically important to do it not by following mirages of European autonomy, but in close cooperation with the United States. We also had an opportunity to exchange information with President of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky. During our conversation, we addressed very important issues regarding further support for Ukraine in its fight against Russia, continuing our assistance to Ukraine in various domains. Military, political, and humanitarian is critical to security in Europe and is Ukraine's integrations with Europe and Euro-Atlantic structures, including NATO. Ladies and gentlemen, for me, today's meeting had a special significance, and it was my last opportunity to speak at this forum as President of the Republic of Poland. I have to emphasize that co-creating and later co-developing this format has been one of the most important and valuable aspects of my presidency. Over the past 10 years, the B9 has been an effective tool strengthening the voice of the eastern flank, countries within NATO, and helping us shape the alliance's deterrence and defense policy. I'm convinced that even after my term as President of Poland, Bucharest Nine will remain the best platform for coordinating security positions of our countries, allowing us to better manage the threats and challenges we face. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President Zelensky, please deliver your statement.